As mediators continue to work to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, Israel's offensive in the enclave continues. This Thursday, a strike was reported on a residential building in northern Gaza in the town of Beit Lahia. According to health officials, at least 11 people were killed. The latest strike comes as hundreds of thousands of Palestinians remain displaced.
Death would be more merciful. We were displaced 20 times. People do not know where to go. Even designated safe zones aren't safe. We do not know where to go. Should we go to the sea or where else? Death is truly more merciful.
We can now go across to France 24's Irris Makler in Jerusalem. Irris, good afternoon. Yesterday, a school-turned-shelter was targeted. Once again, Israel is coming under criticism for targeting a facility where the displaced are sheltering.
That's right. What we've seen over the past 24 hours in Gaza is actually an expansion. We've seen Israeli tanks moving in the center and the south of the Gaza Strip. We've seen Israel saying that, in fact, it has targeted and killed 50 Hamas militants. We've seen reports from Hamas that since dawn today, the Hamas-run health authority says more than 20 people have died in the Gaza Strip. They don't distinguish between combatants and non-combatants, civilians. So that's the situation, unchanged. We have seen some Palestinian rocket fire Hamas rocket fire from the Gaza Strip into southern Israel. Doesn't go very far any longer. I think it's a sign of how much Hamas's military capabilities have been depleted over this 10.5-month period of intense Israeli bombing and warfare. But I think what's interesting is how little interest there seems to be from Hamas in the plight of the Gazan civilians. You know, there is a ceasefire deal on the table, and we don't hear from Hamas. We hear from the civilians. I saw footage of them being interviewed this morning, and one of them said, I've been moved 7 times. I've been moved 10 times. Where is safe? We go somewhere safe. We don't know where that is. You know, we've had enough. But that doesn't seem to resonate at the moment with Hamas's militant leaders. And what we do see is an escalation in the north as well. So that's the fight between Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel, Israel's north, Lebanon's south. We've seen really an increase in rocket fire, including a targeting of a civilian village yesterday. Israel says it's a change in what Hezbollah is targeting. And Israel has been targeting more overnight, you know, deeper and deeper into Lebanon. And I think that's where we're actually seeing the escalation. The situation in Gaza is almost, I'm sorry to say this, normal.
Indeed, it's awful to say that it's normal when it is far from normal for you and I, for everyone watching. Irris, now, with my previous guest, we were talking, of course, about the Democratic National Convention that's underway in Chicago. And last night, we had the parents of an American hostage who spoke. Take a listen to Hirsch Poland's mother, Rachel Goldberg, speaking on the sidelines of the convention.
I think that we all realize that this is now a situation that has come down to 2 parties and 2 men who hold power in those parties, and that's Prime Minister Netanyahu and Yahya Sinwar. And until those 2 powerful men decide what the next step is, we are all very much pawns in a game that we didn't sign up for.
Rachel Goldberg speaking there. Irris, she's not wrong, is she? This whatever we can say about U.S. pressure on the Israeli side, or Iranian or Qatari pressure on the Hamas's side, it does, at the end of the day, come down to 2 men and what they want.
So it seems, you know, that's how it's being reported in the Israeli press and from the Arab language press as well. You know, it's less, I suppose, surprising in some ways. Yahya Sinwar is a militant leader. He rules by force. You know, Hamas did face an election back in 2007. That's almost 20 years ago now. There hasn't been an election since. And if you're a vocal opponent of Hamas, you know, they deal with you violently. So in one sense, I guess it's the question with Hamas is, what does Yahya Sinwar want? He doesn't seem to be particularly targeting or viewing the suffering of Gazans, that is Palestinian civilians in Gaza. That doesn't seem to be his target. What we've been hearing both in the Arab language press and from American officials right now is that he's got a bigger picture. You know, Gaza is in some ways lost to them, at least for a while. So his own survival, Hamas's survival is important, but the broader region and Israel losing more broadly is very important. And what the Americans are saying about Yahya Sinwar is that he wants to, that now Hamas is helping Hezbollah instead of the other way around, that they want an escalation in the war in the north. They want Israel to be fighting on two fronts. So that perhaps explains why Yahya Sinwar does not support a ceasefire. Benjamin Netanyahu is more surprising because he is a democratically elected leader, but we do know from reports in the Israeli media that there are other leaders within the opposition, certainly, but even within the security and the military who say now is the time for a hostage deal, now is the time for a ceasefire, let's just go with it. And he doesn't follow that path. And the reason is, he says, for security reasons, very important to Israel to keep that border with Gaza and Egypt in Israeli hands, or at least with Israeli military. But there are people here who say it's political too. He wants to ensure that this right-wing government survives and other members of this right-wing government don't want a hostage deal. So there you have it. Two older men who are really dictating things for their publics and more broadly for the world.